Good day, everyone. Okay, let me just get this link shared to all the relevant places, and then we'll get started. Let me turn off the volume here. Share it in the Telegram. Put it on Twitter. And in the Discord. Hope you're all doing well. Just make sure my mic's on. Yeah. Okay. Just sharing the link a couple more places. Yeah, Diego, I did take TP1 on ETH and SOL. Yeah, I had a members live stream this morning and a couple ideas. I'll go over them really quick, but one was, this is just a screen grab from this morning's members live stream, sweeping this low for a long on SOL. And that played out cleanly, a little better than the ETH trade, but found a nice entry on ETH too in the end. But anyways, we swept this low. This is the 1 hour chart on SOL. And took this trade on that swing failure. Took a TP1 off of it. I won't be surprised to see higher, but I think a nice idea. And these are just scalp longs. And then on ETH, there was an idea of sweeping this local low into this 618. And we also had our ascending channel here. So I'll just turn on really quickly. Actually, let me just put it on here. Nope, that's not the right channel. I'll just have to redraw it. This isn't even the proper channel. What channel was this? Yeah, funny enough, I have like 5 channels on ETH, and I am now confused. Oh yeah, it was from that pivot low. Oh yeah, I knew this was a bizarre channel too because it was quite hard to see. Didn't work. But anyways, this level gave out. So on a low time frame, we initially had a quick reaction and swing failure, which I entered off. This is on the 1 minute chart. I entered off this swing failure idea here, but got stopped out. And then I waited for this low to get taken and entered off that swing failure. But it's important to take profits off a trade like that. Sorry, I'll just go over this really quickly because now we're back testing this other pivot high, which we've already tested once as resistance. So that needs to be a profit, take profit 1. And then you can stop loss to entry. You can always re-enter. I won't be surprised to see higher, but we'll see what happens. Let's go over Bitcoin really quick because there's some ideas here. I didn't trade this idea on Bitcoin, but locally Bitcoin came down into this local retracement, swept these lows, got a nice reaction off this new 4-hour candle. This 4-hour candle, which comes 2 hours after the, or 2 4-hour candles after the New York Open, is really important for pivots. But I did not trade this on Bitcoin. I just traded ETH and SOL. But I have some ideas on Bitcoin I am interested in. You know, this has been my general idea on Bitcoin for about a month now. The general idea was from this pivot that we'd come in and we'd put in some kind of ABC with the likelihood, or I guess me leaning towards an extended flat, which comes to the 123.7 extension. So that's what where my shorts are from. And ultimately, although we could see a sweep of these lows, which is a trade I'd be interested in, sweeping these lows and maybe like something like that for a scalp long into adding to my shorts, I'm targeting the lows of the range on Bitcoin. Sweeping these lows as long target if we can reclaim them. And if we see weakness here, I'd also be interested in taking a long if we sweep these lows. Just being patient for that. But definitely interested in scalp longs off this idea if we see some strength. Of course, price can just always break right down, so I don't prefer to use limit orders on ideas like that. I like to have my idea set alerts and come and revisit this idea and see if we're getting strength here, and then consider opening a long if we are. And you don't always read it right. Like I took an entry higher on ETH here, and it got stopped out. But then I got this entry, so that's nice. Yeah, so let me just say hello to everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Lots of interesting ideas, like FTM's coming into an interesting level as well that I wouldn't mind looking at for possible entry, but would like to see a reaction there. Hasn't tapped it yet. One thing I am keeping a close eye on too is the Bitcoin dominance chart. Been talking about it, you know, as we came up to the highs of the range, saying you would expect alts to be stronger against Bitcoin. And that's been the case, but now as we come to the lows of the range, well, now you might expect, if we get another bounce from the lows of the range, then of course you would expect maybe Bitcoin to start rallying against alts. Of course, we could always lose that, in which case you could see Bitcoin get really weak. But the most likely scenario is a bounce from support. But we might have a period here where alts are actually stronger than Bitcoin for a little while. If Bitcoin is backtesting these levels as resistance, and then we get that final move down to the lows of the range. Someone's asking, how do you determine the strength of a move? Well, there's a couple things. You definitely want to be looking at order flow and like looking for absorption in your volume delta. So basically here you can see, like, just on the 1 minute candles on ETH, you can look at this volume here down below, all this volume. And the idea I had this morning when price was up here was to come and sweep these lows. And so for me, when I see the lows got front run here, I didn't long that. When I see all this heavy volume coming in and that sharp reaction, there's also tons of shorts opening here. Well, that is a nice reaction. That's something that I'm interested in trading. This time it didn't work out. And then I just, again, waited for this low to be taken, because I was pointing out, if we go to this 1 hour chart, we have two important pivot lows. This is old price action, so we're here, but looking here, we have this low and this low. And so if you draw horizontal lines from them, you can see as price comes through those levels, even on a very low time frame, we're interacting with them. I'll delete these just so we know what we're looking at. So this is the higher one, the lower one. So price comes here, and we start flipping this as resistance. And so when you're back testing that as resistance, you lose it, resistance, you're likely to see lower. And when you sweep that other low I referred, you see that heavy volume come in, and you're looking for that reaction off that level. And that's what I would call a reaction. But for example, if we came down through this level, or even these levels, and there was like no volume, it kind of tells you that that's probably not a major target for liquidity. And like maybe you had some ideas where this would be a good low to sweep for liquidity, but just seeing whether or not there's volume there can tell you whether or not that's true. And obviously here on SEOUL, the volume has been decent down here and was quite good coming into these lows. Same with this low, right? You can see this heavy volume coming in. So we're get this little bounce and are consolidating. But this would have been a very hard idea to trade. So again, you're looking for those nice reactions with volume. Lots of shorts opening here on SEOUL as well, at least on FTX. I just happened to be looking at the order flow on FTX. But yeah, maybe something like a retracement on these ideas might be nice too, to look for a potential opportunity to add just a local retracement idea. But yeah, I've taken profits off the positions, and we'll just see if there's, you know, if price comes down, if there's a nice reaction there. But yeah, you know, there's no way to know. Like, it definitely improves your looking at like open interest and looking for absorption. Definitely improves the odds of a position working, but there's no way to know for certain. My ultimate targets for SEOUL are back up into a major retracement. So this morning in the live stream, the idea was, I mean, this is what I kind of drew out, was to come in and sweep these lows and rotate back up into a major retracement. I mean, ultimately, I'm looking for something like this. Into a major retracement. These are high time frame ideas. Then come back into these lows, and then back up into the highs of the range, and maybe form some sort of ascending channel here, or ascending trend line rather. And come up and sweep this high. But these are all high time frame ideas, so they can change. You know, I'm just kind of looking at price, trying to look at what what could bring us down into the range lows and back up into the highs while wrecking everyone on the way. That's always what I'm looking for ideas is, you know, where is price maybe likely to go, but how can it get there in a way that makes it very hard for people to trade? Because that's what the market's doing. It's trying to wreck everybody. And so even if you're bullish on SEOUL and you think it's going to go to $60, it might get there in just such a way that you can't trade it very easily or at all. By the time it gets to $60, you've been stopped out of all your longs, and maybe you've already flipped bearish. That was kind of the idea here too on ETH or Bitcoin. Was, you know, we have this rejection from the range highs, but maybe we come up and sweep the highs, and this price action can get people very bullish at the highs, and then you wreck them. And maybe a retracement here would get people bullish again and back to the range lows. But just trading level to level, looking for nice ideas, nice entries, and taking profits. One thing I'll note is that even though I'm taking some long positions here, it does not mean I'm closing all of my shorts. I still have a ton of shorts running. Those are my swing shorts, but I'm still interested in taking some longs at the same time off support. Last week was just a stellar week for me trading. And I was actually on a vacation for a few days, still doing some trading, but not as much time on the charts. It was a good week for that because I'm getting paid for, you know, all the work I did here and the weeks leading up to here, taking these shorts on Bitcoin, lots of shorts on alts, and then just sitting in those positions and letting them play out, being very patient. I mean, most of my updates, I think I did a public video on this too, was just being patient and, you know, allowing your positions to play out, waiting for lower, so you can get paid on all that work that you do. Someone asking how I drew this channel on SEOUL. It's a very speculative channel. It's mostly based off the trend line from this high, then using this center line as confluence. And this is sort of just nothing except for the fact that it's using the middle line. I'm just aligning with the center line here. Could be something like that. Mostly it's a trend line, but a lot of times what I like to do is if I have a trend line, I like to draw it as a parallel channel, because that's where I find these ideas where the parallel channel doesn't exist yet, but you're finding it because instead of just drawing this as a trend line, you've drawn it as a parallel channel and connected it to a low, which gives you this low. And that's how I use my, I mean, that's kind of what I teach using what I call predictive channels. You're using parallel channel ideas that haven't actually formed yet. So you're actually predicting a channel forming. And they often give amazing setups. I think every short I've had, like from all-time highs, which I've done relatively consistently on a lot of things, have been done using that method. Someone said they're longing right now. One thing I'd say, like if I wasn't long here, I probably wouldn't long right now. I'm not telling you what to do. Not that I don't expect higher, but I think your entry is so important. Like you want a clean entry. So even like something like a retest of this level might be nice. It's just because price could just dump, right? And you kind of, I'm not telling you what to do, of course, but it's always nice to have a plan ahead of time, so you're not reacting to a move, but you're actually anticipating a move, and you're getting those cleaner entries where you, like where someone like you're just mentioning is already entering or just entering. Sorry. Well, if you've planned for this, you're already taking profits off your position. So, not telling you what to do, but that's always a good advice to be trading ideas that you've planned ahead for instead of reacting to price. But yeah, I hope you guys all had a good week. Obviously, for many, a big sell-off on the market like this can be rough, but hopefully you all have done well. And I usually don't like to take profit on, or sorry, trade on weekends. But I think these are actually quite nice setups on these alts here. Someone's asking what was my take profit on SEOUL. A retest of this horizontal level. That's one thing, like, I go over this a lot in the members group when I'm in a position. When people ask, like, how do you figure out your take profits? Identify your local market structure, and your profit taking should be using your, you find where's your most local resistance, and that should be your TP1. Same on ETH. This is our most local resistance, so it makes sense to take profit up into that resistance. And even if you're going to see higher, now you have this, you have the option of adding if you want to add to your position. You've taken profits. If you get a reaction you like, you can always go back to your original size. And now if you get stopped out, well, you might be in a position where you still have profits even though you've been stopped out, because you've taken profits higher and you've added, which brings up you use those profits to kind of offset your risk. Because typically price doesn't just go straight up and straight down. So you usually get opportunities to take your initial position. That's how I like to trade. Maybe take profits, stop loss to entry. And then if you like a retracement idea, then you can add back to your original size with the original stop loss, or you can still keep your stop loss at break even. And so now you have the benefit of having that original size with the profits taken out of the position. Now your stop loss is typically going to be in profit, even if it's only slight, or maybe you've sized it so it's at break even, but you're still removing risk from your position, which is super important. Versus had you done nothing, now you're in a winning position, back into maybe an almost break even position, or if price dumps into a loss, and not having hit that TP1 idea, completely changes. And this type of thing compounds so quickly over the course of 10, 20, 30 trades. If you do this consistently, it puts you into a much better position. But again, I do think, I don't know if I'd say likely, but I wouldn't be surprised to see higher. I mean, even if SEOUL comes down and sweeps these lows again, that could just be another long setup. Keep trading this level, because this is a higher time frame level on SEOUL. I think it's quite nice. SEOUL down It's like 27%, or how far is it down? 20. Someone's asking, how do you differentiate break of structure for going down or just a liquidity grab? Well, reclaiming the level's really important. So here, just even on the 1 minute chart on ETH, you know, if we just break this down, I think my long, I wouldn't say, yeah, I mean, I would say that like you waiting for a cleaner break of this level might have been nice. I kind of misread this reaction. I'd say 9 times out of 10, I enter like these types of setups a little earlier than you would typically be advised to, or like maybe technically should. But 9 times out of 10, I read the reaction right. But the idea of how do you differentiate? Well, this is a break in like just horizontal structure. We broke horizontal structure and we back tested it as resistance, and then here we broke horizontal structure again, back tested as resistance, and just even on the 1 minute time frame, we're breaking horizontal structure, back testing it as resistance. So that's a break of structure, not a liquidity grab. Here you're breaking down, and we have that high time frame level I mentioned. We're breaking down, back testing it as resistance, and that plays on the 1 minute chart. But now, on to some degree, you have, and here we have a back test of the level. So this is actually an important moment on ETH for this trade idea. You really want to start holding this. I mean, obviously you could come sweep these lows and just have the same setup almost identically, but yeah. But that's why you definitely want to be taking profits at that local resistance on ETH. Yeah, someone's asking, is this another long opportunity? Very well could be. You know, this is, you'd want to wait for a sign of strength here, I think, to play this long again. Because you don't just want to long as the level's breaking, you want to look for it to be reclaimed. So now you've double bottomed this level. Well, it's going to be an interesting live stream. But yeah, this is a good example of, you know, clean entries make a big difference and taking profits. Because like I updated in the group as we came up to here on SEOUL and ETH that I'm taking profits and setting my stop to entry. And I even said I wouldn't be surprised to see higher, but I'm still locking in profits. Because now you're in that exact situation where you had a nice move and you are potentially just turning a winner into a loser. This is could get quite bearish on ETH, frankly. I mean, we're losing all structure here. You can just see there's really no structure. So, I mean, the only thing you'd be really looking for is a reclaim of this level, but that you very well might not get that with the way this is moving. Someone's asking what my macro view is on Bitcoin. You know, we're in a range. This is important high time support. I wouldn't be surprised to see a rotation to the lows of the range, and then I think we could push up into the mid to high 30,000s, but we'll see. but Bitcoin's coming near an important level. I mean, I might be interested in trading this, but I'd like to see Bitcoin coming lower. I'm not personally interested in longing here. I mean, I'd like to see Bitcoin come down and sweep this low. And then see if we get a reaction and a reclaim of that level. Because everything is just a line on a chart until you see what price does when it hits it. Just looking at Discord really quick. Yeah, it's funny because it's you know, you get a nice like entry on say SEOUL like this and you get a little pump and it's exciting, but it's like you want to take profits because you know, if a move goes instantly in your favor several percentage points, there's no point to turn that into loss because we still have resistance above us that we haven't claimed. And so typically what I do is I break my positions up into usually 3 to 4 take profit targets. Well, I have my first one very close as a scalp, take profit, and that's usually 30%. It can be up to 50% on my TP1. And then I set my stop to entry, and I look for higher targets, but if I get stopped out, then I've locked in a winner. Yeah, we might get this level. I mean, it's likely that we take this low here on Livestream. I'd say very likely. Let me just set something up on my computer. On my other computer. But yeah, maybe I'll hang out on Livestream for a little bit here and see if we take that low. Why is this computer not connecting to the internet? Interesting. Still looking for reactions here on alts. And you might have to bear with me if I do end up trading this because, you know, I have to execute my positions and I also have to update the members group because I do updates on all the positions I take. But, you know, ETH breaking down quite bearishly here. There's not a lot of ideas here I like on ETH. After losing that low. Good kind of this idea of just re-entering this old range. We're in there for quite a while. Almost reforming that range. But if I don't really like something, I usually just don't trade it. Probably more interested in trading this, re-entering on this high time frame level on SEOUL. Because the structure's a little clearer here. Someone's asking, first someone says, is your TP1 always bigger than 1 hour for you? I think typically it would be, but it's always at the first local resistance. And if I'm taking profit manually, like looking for a reaction there. Like if there's a reaction at that first local resistance, I'm going to take profit. I don't care about the risk reward. I care about support and resistance. And because I do that, you know, I have 80% win rates. It doesn't make sense to be looking at your right in front of you that price is reacting and rejecting from resistance and saying like, oh, well, that isn't a good enough risk reward for me to take profits. It's like, well, you're going to have a losing trade probably then. You know, the low was just swept on the USDT pair, but that's not good enough for me. I'd like to see the low swept on this pair. Someone's saying someone's asking how much my ETH position I closed. I closed 30%. SEOUL may reclaim 34.6. Can I ask my question? This is what someone's asking, by the way. Can I ask my question again? Would you feel more confident in the long this time than you did the first one because it will have swing failed twice? Well, the only reason that I'm a little hesitant here now is because Bitcoin is right at these lows. And, you know, this is kind of a swing failure, but this is the 618. It's, you know, it's could just be a retest of this as resistance. And then we have this level above us. So this would be kind of the more important level to reclaim, I would say, on SEOUL. So because he has resistance, or sorry, support, resistance, and then we claim the level, and that's going to be resistance again, and that's because that's this higher time frame level here. So, you know, because Bitcoin is right at the lows and likely probably to break down, although it may not. I would probably prefer a little bit more strength out of Bitcoin before I re-long SEOUL. Someone's asking how is it possible that price took the low on one pair and not the other? Every exchange and pairing is different liquidity, slightly different levels hit or prices hit. I mean, sometimes USDT is decoupling from the dollar, so that affects price. But like for me, these aren't like, even on Bitcoin here, like it's not like, oh, I need to get this long, I hope price doesn't go. It's like, if I don't get a long here, I don't really care. I'd be interested in this, but if I don't get that, then I don't care. I didn't long this. Didn't long these. I mean, I've been sitting in shorts. I haven't been longing anything here. And again, I just want a clean setup. Yeah, and this is just one of those situations where, swing failuring this major level is a lot nicer on SEOUL. But, swing failuring these local lows, although it's an idea, this is probably the more important resistance to look at reclaiming. And if you, push through it, you can even wait for a back test if you get one, but. Same thing with ETH. Your important level of resistance is going to be this horizontal. Let's go delete these scribbles. Always pull local fibs as well. What can happen is you can even get a situation where, we say we have a little pump here on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin comes down and sweeps this low, and while Bitcoin's doing that, your alts are just getting a retest of a swing failure on a fib, and maybe Bitcoin, or sorry, Ethereum is just retesting like a level like this while Bitcoin is sweeping these lows. And you can use that as, I use that as confluence sometimes too, for a retracement. Someone's asking, how probable is it for Bitcoin to go to 25K at this point? Well, eventually, probably quite high. From here, not so high. But like a major retracement wouldn't be that unlikely. maybe up into like 23, 24K. But to come back and retest the highs, I mean, from here, it's not super likely. Of course, anything's possible. But more likely to see lower first before 25K, I think. And sometimes ideas get front run. I mean, it'd be kind of unfortunate to have not just swept these lows, because that could have been an entry trigger. But I think it's probably likely at some point in the near future we do come back and sweep them. In which case I'd be looking for retracement ideas on alts and maybe a long on Bitcoin. But you know, if you go back and look at price, one of the reasons that it's usually smart not to get too FOMO-y. You know, let's just say you were looking for your shorts at the highs of SEOUL. And let's say this happened and you missed your short. It's like, well, you get lots of nice, clean retracement ideas that play out, retest of the highs, swing failures. It's probably likely, like, instead of price just going like this, you know, it's going to retest levels and give you opportunities to get into retracement shorts. And it's probably likely that SEOUL does the same. You know, SEOUL could come up and push through these highs, come back and retrace. But personally, and it's not because I don't think, you know, I think SEOUL certainly will come lower or certainly go higher. I wouldn't open a long here personally. Like this swing failure level, if we can push up and come back and retest it, that would be quite nice. And I'd probably long something like that with a stop under here. Yeah, I would just be, personally, I'm just waiting for, you know, ideally lower on Bitcoin. And if these alts pump, then I would just be looking for a retracement. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of wanted to go over my higher time frame ideas. I'm not saying a long at these ideas on SEOUL isn't good because I took a long here. I'm just more looking at timing a nicer entry personally. Like, I'm not gonna, I'd rather, I mean, as crazy as this sounds, I'd rather miss an entry than long here on this local resistance. Like, I'd rather wait for a retracement and get a cleaner entry than I would longing into even local resistance. You know, let's say I made a bad judgment. Let's say this was like the perfect long and I should have longed it. Well, I didn't. So, you know, I might be wrong and we could just go straight up. Then I miss a trade and that's fine with me. But I think it's probably more likely that we get another retest of the lows, which is also why I got this long and I took profits, because I think it's probably likely we get, even if we see higher, we get another retest of support. So I'm going to take profits off my longs. And the same reason I wouldn't long up here, like at the very start of the live stream, somebody said they were longing. I don't know if they meant SEOUL, but I, you know, price was here. And I said, personally, I wouldn't long there. I'm not telling you what to do, but it's probably more likely we do see a retracement at the very least. And this is kind of a very subpar entry, I would say, and maybe even a arguably dangerous one. Yeah, I mean, regarding SEOUL, I mean, you're perfectly welcome to obviously trade whatever you want, take along. The reason I'm not is I think it's likely that Bitcoin's going to come sweep the lows. When that happens, it doesn't necessarily mean SEOUL will, but at that time, SEOUL, ETH, other things will likely retrace at the same time, and I'll get a cleaner entry. If I enter here, the odds of me not just being put underwater as soon as I enter are very low. I mean, I'd say it's above a 50% chance that I'm entering right at resistance and my position is just instantly going to be underwater. So I don't really like, yeah, I don't really like entries like that. The reason I keep my win rate high is because I'm fine to just wait for nice entries. And so I trade, you know, on a high time frame, this is a nice level. Very nice level. This whole region is a nice level. On a low time frame, for me, and this is how I trade, this is a subpar entry. Based on local price action and local structure. So, you know, like for me, because I can trade really nice levels really locally and on a high time frame, it's just, why would I take a subpar entry longing here when if it's not on SEOUL here, it'll be on something else another day where I can get essentially pretty clean, almost perfect entries if I'm patient. It's the same reason why I'm taking profits from longs here and not adding to them. So be adding right into resistance. Someone's asking why I wouldn't long Bitcoin here. Well, we didn't sweep the lows on this chart. We swept it on some pairings, but this is a very high liquidity chart. The BTC USD perp pairing on Bybit, and this liquidity hasn't been grabbed yet. We've double bought it. We've slightly front run the lows. There's a ton of liquidity under here. So it, you know, if you go back and look at price, how often is it that you get a strong reaction from, like, here's a swing failure, here's kind of like a double bottom what we're getting here, and you get the strong reaction and then you come back and sweep that low. And just because I have a strong reaction front running the level, and now I'm like, I'm not gonna think, oh, I've missed it, I'm gonna enter late. I'm just gonna wait, and if I don't get it, I won't take the trade. And that's the exact same philosophy I had with my shorts on Bitcoin. There were lots of rejections front running the levels I was looking for, and I said, I'm just gonna wait for the level, and I might miss the trade, but I'd rather miss the trade than feel like I missed it and then opening at local support because I'm afraid that it's not going to go up to my level. I'll just wait for the level, and if I don't get it, I won't take the trade. The same thing here. If I miss a trade, I'm fine with that. I'd rather miss a trade than FOMO into a long because I think a level got front run. I think it's important too to realize, like, these ideas are a mix of many things. What I'm looking for, like someone saying, do you wait for support to be liquidated before you take a long? I'm not just gonna long because this low gave out and then I'm gonna long. I'm gonna wait for strength, because you know, you can't just long every time support gives away, or you're going to be longing this, you're going to be longing this, you're going to be, you need to wait for key ideas. So I don't want to just say I wait for support to give out and then I long, because that's going to get you into a ton of terrible trades if you just take that sentence away. And I teach all this stuff in the members group, luckyapestradingfloor.com. the link is in the description. But it takes some time to learn this stuff, you know. And so some of it's not as simple as just a one sentence question and a one sentence response. There's kind of a lot more to it. Like you need, the swing failure ideas are good, but they need to be coming into key levels. Like what makes this a good idea on SEOUL isn't just that we are sweeping the lows, it's that we're sweeping the lows into a really important level. And obviously Bitcoin's quite near an important level as well. But yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I think I'm kind of in, like I've done actually 2 members live streams today, and I wanted to do a live stream mostly to go over the charts on Bitcoin. And this happens sometimes, and sometimes I can wait until like the idea plays out, where as I get onto a live stream, a trade idea starts getting closer, and then you're stuck in this like, okay, I'll sit on live stream until maybe this idea happens, but it could be 3 hours from now. And so it's just kind of like, you know, I wasn't necessarily planning on live streaming all day. I just wanted to mostly go over the analysis. It depends on the week. Somebody's asking how many live streams do you do per week. I mean, there are times when I do one almost every day. There's times when I do multiple in a day, and sometimes that's when, you know, an idea that's been talked about, maybe a really high time frame idea, is getting close. And you know, sometimes I like to try to get onto live stream if I think that idea is going to play out, and maybe I'm going to be taking an entry. But the timing can be a little challenging because you can get stuck in situations where, you know, you front run a level and you might get a bounce and price could do this and 4 hours could go by and we could go all the way to the next daily candle before the idea plays out. So which, you know, I think if like I was gonna maybe stay on live stream if we swept these lows on live stream, but this can take a while to play out. Like this could be another 2 hours. So, but I think generally the idea I'm looking for is we have this key level below us on Bitcoin. The idea I'd be looking for, and obviously we have these wicks too that are important. Like this is a region. So you have a region of support here. Let me extend these lines so we can see price. And you know, if you consolidate in here a little bit and you see some bullish absorption and cumulative volume delta, you could enter earlier. Otherwise, waiting for a sign of strength to reclaim this level, and the entry would be the reclaim and a stop under here, targeting up higher. It's all about kind of trying your best to read the reaction that price is having at a key level. You know, is price reacting? So even like here, let's just say I had longed SEOUL down here. Well, I'd be taking profits because this is resistance. We're getting a reaction, local resistance, and that'd be just your TP1. You're in a profitable trade. But that's why I said I wouldn't enter here, because if I entered here, the odds that I don't just end up underwater right from entry are very bad. I like positions where, and I do this quite often, where I enter and I'm within that's 5 minute candles, the low of the pivot, and I'm in profits from there. I like where reversals are likely to be happening in direction of my trade and not against me. I don't know when I'll do a face reveal. I don't know the benefit to it for me. Like people are always like, where do you live? What do you look like? What's your social insurance number? Yeah, Gerard saying you could call me Mr. Sexy from that point on. Trust me, I'm sexy. Um, just kidding. Well, so yeah, like I said, this is my third live stream today, and I just wanted to go over Bitcoin. So I think I did that, and I guess we went over some live price action, some ideas. I am interested in looking for positions here. I am going to be a little patient now that Bitcoin has moved into the lows of the chart here, and just see if we can get a sweep of these lows. I always love looking back at my charts and seeing how many squiggles I draw on it. It's like I make such a mess. But hopefully this was helpful. You know, I want to see these lows swept. I probably wouldn't enter aggressively on like a little sweep unless the volume was super heavy, because I would maybe expect a little lower. So yeah, but I'm interested in longs from this region on Bitcoin, and still interested in longs from here on SOUL. You know, ETH has me a little bit skeptical about a long, but I mean the 786 is below us. That's an important level, so I may be interested there. But if I only get a long on Bitcoin and SOUL, that might be okay. Of course, can always long with just a very local idea on Bitcoin, or sorry, on ETH. Maybe if there's something like this and everything else is hitting a key level, maybe I just long it as a local retracement with a really tight stop. But typically I don't like doing that when there's no structure here on a higher time frame, and there really isn't. I mean, we moved right through all these levels, and so we didn't really build any support here. So once we've lost these lows and not just swing failured them, all of our structure's gone. And definitely glad I have a ton of shorts running. But yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hopefully you got some value out of this, and maybe I can eat some lunch or something and come back and look for positions if my alerts go off.